Hi. Menos mal. I'm glad I had enough money to pay for a taxi. Yeah, I was stranded. Estaba perdido en un sitio desconocido. Pero menos mal que tuviera dinero suficiente para pagar un taxi. I'm glad. Me alegro. I'm glad I had. En español dirías, me alegro de haber tenido. O en inglés, me alegro de que tuve. I'm glad I had enough money to pay for. En español dirías pagar un taxi. No, pagar por un taxi en inglés. I'm glad I had enough money to pay for a taxi. Wow. If I hadn't had enough money to pay for a taxi, I would have been in a difficult situation. But, menos mal, it's a good thing. Thank God, it's a good thing I had enough money. And I'm glad I had enough money to pay for a taxi.
Hello everyone, and welcome to a new day and a new class with me. I hope you're ready. Okay, I'm glad I had enough money to pay for a taxi. Significa, menos mal que tenía suficiente dinero para pagar un taxi. So, la expresión I'm glad I, right? Significa menos mal que yo. ¿Ok? Normalmente to be glad significa alegrarse. Me alegro de que, me alegro y tal, que ya vimos en otra clase. Pero aquí también a veces puede significar menos mal. ¿Ok? Menos mal. Entonces, menos mal tenía suficiente dinero. Uy, I'm glad I had enough money. Más ejemplos. I'm glad I have an umbrella. It's pouring. Ok, menos mal que tengo paraguas porque ahora está lloviendo a cántaros. It's pouring. Más ejemplos. I'm glad I know the address because it's late. Menos mal que sé la dirección porque ya es tarde. So again, I'm glad I, okay? I'm glad I locked the door. Menos mal que cerré con llave la puerta. I'm glad I locked the door. So repeat, I'm glad I. Significa menos mal que yo, etc.
Hi, it's Frank, the security guard. I'm glad to tell you that everything's okay. We had a situation yesterday, a very serious situation, and I caught a criminal. I caught him here at the park. But I'll be glad to tell you, or I am glad to tell you, in fact, that you're okay now. You're safe. That's right. I'm glad to report that you're safe because I caught the criminal. Yeah, that's right. I caught him. Glad. Look at that. Hasta sonrío a la hora de decir la palabra. Glad. I'm glad. No es glad. Glad. Se abre la boca. I'm glad you are enjoying the park. I'm glad that you are safe now. I'm glad. Repítelo conmigo. I'm glad. What are you glad about? I'm glad that we caught that criminal. I'm glad you can enjoy the park with your kids now. I'm glad that there's order in the park again. That's right, and I'm glad to report that I will catch all criminals. I'm glad, and I'm glad if you're glad. Let's be glad together. Isn't it a beautiful park?
Okay, welcome again to the second part of our lesson. But let's repeat the sentence. I'm glad I had enough money to pay for a taxi. Menos mal que tenía suficiente dinero para pagar un taxi. So when we say el verbo to have en el pasado, ¿cómo se dice? Muy bien, had. Had, con D al final. Had, ¿ok? Es otro verbo irregular en el pasado simple. So, I had enough money. Yo tenía suficiente dinero. Y ojo aquí, para decir suficiente más sustantivo, metemos enough antes del sustantivo. Enough money. Más ejemplos con el verbo to have en pasado y la estructura enough. For example, I had enough time. Yo tenía suficiente tiempo. He had enough materials. Él tenía suficiente materiales. We had enough students. Teníamos suficientes alumnos. So repeat, we had I had, they had, you had, más enough, más sustantivo. I had enough time. Okay, so keep practicing.
Do you know Steve? Well, he is not a good customer. He only ever buys chewing gum. That's right, that's all he ever buys. Yesterday, he came into the shop and I said, do you want to buy some books? And he had enough money, but he didn't buy them. He told me he didn't like to read, but he had enough money to buy them. So then I thought, why doesn't he buy a tennis racket? So I said, do you want to buy a tennis racket? And he had enough money to buy it, but he didn't buy it. I couldn't believe it. He had enough money. Dilo conmigo en casa. He had enough money. That's right. He had enough money, but he didn't buy it. So then I thought, what does everybody need? A toothbrush with interchangeable heads. Everybody needs to clean their teeth, so I told him to buy it. And he had enough money, but he didn't buy it. He only ever buys chewing gum.
Okay, welcome back. Ya llegamos al final de la lección. I'm glad I had enough money to pay for a taxi. Menos mal que tenía suficiente dinero para pagar un taxi. Now, ojo, in Spanish, en castellano, decimos para pagar. En inglés no decimos for, ni for pay, ni for paying, nada de eso. Simplemente usamos el infinitivo, to pay. ¿Ok? Estoy aquí para enseñarte. I'm here to teach you. Estás ahí para aprender. You're here, you're there to learn. ¿Ok? So to pay for, y cuando pagamos algo decimos to pay for something. Y la palabra del día, muy importante, es migraña. ¿Sabes decirlo en inglés? Migraine. Ok, muy bien. Migraine. Migraine, una palabra. Ok, migraña. So repeat. I'm glad I had enough money to pay for a taxi. So, to pay for, para pagar. To pay for. Y cuando pagas algo, hay que meter esa preposición for. Ok? So, to pay for a taxi. So, keep practicing and I'll see you in our next class. Okay? Bye.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so tired and I don't want to get the bus home. I think I'll just pay for a taxi. I mean, it's late. I don't want to get the bus. I'll just pay for a taxi. Eso decimos, I'll pay for a taxi. I'll pay a taxi? No. I'll pay for a taxi. Repeat with me. Good. Do you ever feel too lazy to get the bus and you pay for a taxi? Yes, me too sometimes. Okay, I'll just pay for a taxi. I'll pay for a taxi in cash. Oh, I don't have any cash. I know, I'll pay for a taxi by card. Oh, I don't have my card. I know, I'll pay for the taxi with my husband's card because I'm really tired and I want to get a taxi, but he has to pay for the taxi. He's used to it. Quite often I come shopping, I get very tired, and I have to pay for a taxi to go home. Well, he has to pay for a taxi to go home. Oh, there's a taxi. I have to go because I'm up early tomorrow to shop, shop, shop.